So this is Farmer P. What was your purpose of today? Why did you organise the rally? Can you just tell us a little bit about some facts and stats of what's going on?
Well, we've launched the rally today to start the Cornwall group of the Farmers Movement Cornwall. We're here to show solidarity also for the farmer protest movements that have been also happening right across Europe and in other parts of the UK. We're also starting our campaign for agricultural reform. We believe that so much is wrong with farming in the minute detail as well as the large detail as relating to net zero, that nothing short of complete reform is required. We need to take a completely different approach now. We need to have a nationalistic approach rather than a globalist approach to farming in the UK. We need to very quickly secure, as much as possible, British food security. There's tinkering around the edges with various bits and bobs, but as far as I'm concerned, the main thrust is we have got to get rid of the Climate Change Act 2008 and the 2050 carbon emission targets, which are the CO2 emissions from net zero. This government policy is destroying the country and farming at a pace never seen before. The farmers are whistleblowing this. It is a Europe-wide, and we've seen protests as far wide as India and Quebec in Canada. Across the UK, there's a big movement in Wales. We've seen protests in the Cairngorms National Parks recently as well, and we're joining together. Cornish farmers and the public together are coming out to support British farming and to support British food security. The Sustainable Farm Scheme in Wales is mandating a 20% use of land to forestry and other rewilding. So if you were a farm that didn't have any trees, you would have to put 20% of your land and hence lose 20% of your income to greening schemes. Now, that all sounds lovely, but that's a 20% loss of income for Welsh farmers. That's not acceptable, and neither is the political coercion in that. And this is a noticeable turn in the subsidy support for farming, which has gone in a very short space of time from a non-political subsidy to a politicised event where you have to go green or starve, really is the message.
Yeah.
And that's not right. And it's all based on the climate change agenda, which many people, including myself, don't believe is being caused by CO2 emissions. If you look into the science, from the opposing side, should I say, it is full of examples where falsified data has been used. It's really a scientific theory or a consensus achieved by omission of various data sets. Even the hockey stick graph, which originally launched this operation with Al Gore going around the world in 1988, is now so thoroughly discredited that the IPCC themselves don't even reference it. You look at the temperature adjustments from weather stations. I mean, the classic example is having a weather station at Heathrow Airport on the North Runway. So not only have you got the heat island effect, but you've got all the jet planes rushing around, and that was mixed into the traditional existing data from tree ring data and the ice core samples. There's so much science against it, and the way that people who've opposed it have been dealt with is very, very undemocratic and not British at all. I mean, the case that I always think about is Sir David Bellamy getting deplatformed from his job with the BBC just because he wouldn't go along with it. So, it's really, in my opinion, a fraudulent scientific text. And it's backed up by threats and menace. I mean, this is just not cricket. I think we have to campaign for the political change of a completely different approach to farming. We have got to go from a globalist-led farm policy portfolio to one that's nationalistic. We have to think about what is right and first for the British people, for British food security and for British farming. And, we've got to push for that, and we've got to push for the end for net zero. the first step is to get in touch with your local group of No Farmers, No Food, the campaign group that's been launched on social media by James Melville and others. They're on Telegram, they're on Facebook, they're on X. Get in touch, join your local group. We now have a Cornwall group set up as of today. It's called Farmers Movement Cornwall, and we're on Facebook and we're on Telegram. And to the members of the general public, along with the farmers, please get on social media, get on Telegram especially, because you will not see a lot of this on the mainstream media, and it is a shameful example of censorship from the mainstream media.
Yeah.
These protests have been going on for a considerable amount of time in Europe and at a huge scale. We are talking 10,000 tractors in a single evening in Berlin, closing Berlin down. We are talking about huge protests in Poland. Every European country has been out with this, and you have to get on Telegram to see what's happening. So there's a quote that always comes to mind about the so-called Free Press, who really are just a complicit arm to the government agenda. It's from the British poet G.K. Chesterton, and he says, the free press is nothing more than bright images cast upon screens in darkened rooms so that the true truth of the world may never be seen. And it's just true then 100 years ago, and it's true now.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.